Huh. Oh, there we go. Perfect. There we go. I was just taking a second. I'm just making sure all the microphones, everything else is working. We're good. I'm changing hers to a level 4. So she'll want to really quickly, if she wants, I can fill in stuff for her and then she can kind of run with it real quick, or she can go and fill in those details. It's up to you. If you can hear me, Becca. Okay. Problem. Just her spells and stuff real quick. Correct. Tonight we have somebody who's going to be playing with us to see how she likes D&D. And then Roland is going to be missing for this particular session. He had something come up. So. So roguish archetype, mastermind, scout, swashbuckler, thief. Do you want to ask her really quick? What is her? What if she was an assassin, or not really assassin, but a rogue? What would she have more fun doing? Tricking people, you know, doing the cloak and daggers assassinations, finding things, you know, being a mastermind of a grander plot, a scout for, you know, sneaking up and finding things, a swashbuckler, or someone who pickpockets. Yes, she's going to be created rogue. That'll be good. Okay, so the only thing that she'll have to do is yes, so you're a roguish archetype, which basically means when you're playing, how do you envision this character be evolving as far as a storyline perspective? Would they be a trickster, somebody who pickpockets people, like a klepto? Is it someone who scouts ahead for like another battalion, or maybe it's somebody who hides in the shadows and orchestrates the destruction of a town? Mastermind. Yeah, it's a pick list. It's a pick list for her archetype. I have all of them. So since she's added, she should have access to all of them. So that's the only thing. Just go choose that. Otherwise, I did level you up, and your hit points should be leveled. I'm going to move your stuff into a character sheet really fast. And we'll go from there. We should be ready to rock and roll here. We're a few minutes off target, but we should be fine. 'He's neutral, okay. $15, $14, $11, $8. Okay, so we got that done. I'm gonna do your proficiencies really quick, and then we should be rocking. Whoops. Ignore that. Okay, so we're good. And Becca, if you can hear me, one more thing. What equipment do you want to use? There's a rapier or a short sword for the first section. Which would you prefer out of the two? Rapier, you can imagine it as a skinnier sword that usually has a bell guard on it. It's usually used more like fencing, kind of, where it's a lot more, there's more finesse to it, whereas a sword is more brute strength. So it's more slender, usually used for stabbing, like poking long distances. I agree. That's just the rogue starting equipment. She does have 2 daggers in addition to these, so plus short bow and all this other stuff. So you can have either a rapier, which allows you to use dexterity or strength, or you can use a short sword, which would require your strength. I would probably recommend the rapier personally, because you have a 17 dexterity. So okay, so rapier, short. So do you want a short bow or a short sword as your secondary? You have daggers in addition to this, yes. Okay, so we got the short bow. Do you want a burglar's pack, dungeoneer's pack, or explorer's pack? Essentially, the contents will change moderately. But if you plan to be like a roguish kind of a thief where you pickpocket or you can like break into houses and stuff like that, your burglar's pack's probably going to have a better assortment. But if you're just doing like dungeoneering where you're just an adventurer that happens to be a rogue, either the dungeoneer or the explorer is going to be better for you. Okay. So that'll give you ball bearings, 10 feet of string, bell, candles, crowbar, hammer, 10 pitons. Those are used for rock climbing when you hit them into the wall. 2 flasks of oil, 5 days rations, tinderbox, water skin. And this is all going to be in your inventory, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm just letting you know so you're aware of them. Okay, so that should have added everything. Yes, so they're all in there in your D&D Beyond. Currency, you said it was squalid, next to none. I'm just going to go ahead and throw a number in there relative to what else is going on. Be about, yeah, that should be sufficient. Okay, so that's in there. Put your equipment in. Do. Short bow, arrows, rapier, okay, leather armor. I didn't miss anything, and then I think you're ready to go. So what you're going to basically do is in D&D Roll20, it's going to allow you to click on the stat and have it roll and do some of that math for you. There are going to be gaps, most likely just because I haven't filled all those in yet, and we can help with that afterwards. But this should give you a pretty good feel for that. But for any of your notes, any of that other stuff, I would recommend using D&D Beyond. Especially for like keeping track if you use an arrow, that kind of stuff, because it's a little more sophisticated in a lot of ways. All right. All right, we got it in there. Short bow bell. Yes, so we should be good. Everything's in there. We drop you in really quickly into the map. Images. And I am just going to use a random one because I don't have one that's different. Oh, great. I broke it. Gosh, you tiny toilet. Okay, let's try again. Save. Okay. Okay, there you are. Steve, did you give her a quick rundown of how all that stuff works? Just all the D&D Beyond, or do I need to give a quick? I'm sorry, not D&D Beyond. Roll20. Yes. Yes, in just half a second. Okay, perfect. So as long as she has somebody there, that will help, so you can answer any questions. I am looking for initiative bonus. Okay. I went ahead and put your arrow counts into Roll20. It's there. Getting something. What am I forgetting? Save it. Okay, she's fully set up. Okay. All right, we'll get started here. Sorry, guys, for the little bit of a start off, but we just wanted to get our ducks in a row. Get this open and rock. Lost mine down there. Okay. Everybody ready? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you must blink, do it now. Pay careful attention to everything you see and hear, no matter how unusual it may seem. And please be warned, if you fidget, if you look away, if you forget any part of what I tell you, even for an instant, then our band of heroes will surely perish. Is everyone sitting comfortably? Let's please attend carefully as we begin. So last time, and I apologize ahead of time, I am fighting with allergies, so you're going to get a face full of mucus. I will do my best, but you'll probably hear me stop mid-thing, and that's to keep snot from falling out of my nose, is probably what's going to happen, but I will do my best. It is going to be recorded, so. All right, so we've got it here. Last time, as you guys recall, Speaking of which, let me make sure we'll start the recording. That'd be even better. There we go. It is now recording. You happy? So last time, as you guys recall, you guys went into this epic, large-scale battle with a large green dragon. All throughout your travels in this this area of the Sword Coast, you have never encountered a larger, more powerful beast. This hulking mass of muscle and just sheer just death and this acrid hatred for all things that are like true and pure. This Venom Fang, as he called himself, you encroached on his domain and nearly lost your lives a few times, but you guys were able to overcome him in the end, despite his raging anger against the people who were basically coming and kind of stepping on his stuff. You guys had gone through the town previous to that, kind of cleared out a little bit of all of the ash zombies as well as the twig blights, all in search of your friend for Balasar Dendarian. You were joined promptly as you were traveling to the south by one of your friends, Azrael. Well, not really friends. Azrael, a mysterious figure, all clad in this very nice armor with the symbol of Bahamut adorning pretty much every nook and cranny, along with your friend in your companion Dormorlum in a sack. He had knocked him out and used him as kind of a bargaining chip, as he was also in search of Balasar Dendarian, and as you came to find out, he was seeking him because he was one of his father's bannermen and had not reported back for some time to basically come to complete his mission. So Azrael joined you on this quest. Thankfully, another paladin was part of the party because you guys, just the sheer devastation that Venom Fang wrought with just a single breath. You guys know that you have come out of this breathing heavily and just completely sapped and drained of energy, and having given it all you got, you were able to overcome him. And upon a little bit of investigation of the tower, Venfina and others were able to find what seems to be the corpse of the once Balasar Dendarian. Missing a limb, he's missing his left arm, the rest of his body cold. It's not that usual warm red, just ruddy red scaly color that he normally would be. Just tattered and torn and lacerations all about his body. And as you guys had kind of seen him in this state, as you were on approach in this darkened kind of middle tier of this tower, you noticed within him something pulse, and slowly. And as you see this acrid green just light emanates from this odd shaped kind of blight on his chest, and you see as it courses seemingly through his veins this green necrotic energy. And as we left, you guys heard a ominous laugh seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. No particular point in the room. It's almost as if he's speaking to you in your minds. And as you heard what do you do? Balasar is not. The voice, you don't know, you can't see him. If you want to look around the room, you're more than welcome to roll for perception. Yeah. Ah! Okay. Thank you for telling me now. Let me fix it. Janasi, I don't know how far their stuff is. I'm just going to give her a 30-foot range for now. Okay, can she see now? Maybe. Okay, perfect. 1 second, I'll remove her token and re-add it so I don't have to do that again. There we go. Okay, we're good. Okay. So she'll be chilling out here. All right, so as you're hearing this, you're hearing this voice, and while it's not a sound per se, it echoing in the chasms of your mind, you do recognize this voice. What's his name? The Red Wizard of Thay. Yes, it is. So you recall this voice as you're hearing this and seeing inside of Balasar's sunken face and his eyelids, doing that weird reptilian kind of weird eyelid thing. They open, and you see nothing in his eyes are black, and you just see this pinprick of green deep inside of them, and it seems like he is using it as a mouthpiece. He says, "You should know never to to cross any red wizards of Thay. You got off lucky, and I found what I came for. You are too late, but I have much use for you, each of you. And I will..." Sorry, my nose is like trying to drip. "I have much use for each of you, and only time will tell, but when the time is right, I will come for you. You will serve me either in life or in death, but there is no reason..." Hold on. Need to go get some tampons. Seriously. And so he says, "The oncoming flood is coming, but each of you will have your purpose. But do not, I warn you, do not get in my way. This one I've already claimed for my own. And yet, each of you will serve me." And this, as you're seeing this, this voice isn't necessarily coming from anything in particular. It's almost, again, more like you're hearing this in the echoes of your mind, and you're seeing these brief flashes and memories that you don't quite understand, but this temporal connection that he has basically cast the spell to be able to speak to you through. I already have. Perhaps. But the time is still ripe. What'd you say? No, he is not in he's not in the room. If you want to make an Arcana check for me. For anyone who wants to check. Aurora, you're not sure. You're kind of freaked out that you're hearing this voice. You're not... Balasar's voice is moving. You're not seeing any specific place this is coming from. Okay. So, Clandon, you recognize that somehow he's using Balasar as an anchor to speak to you. But while Balasar hasn't moved, aside from his eyes opening and the pulsing in his chest, you guys haven't seen him really move at all. Make your medicine check. Based on your arcana, you're not really sure. This is kind of the antithesis of the type of magic that you're used to. And as far as you can see, there is no signs of life in him. This seeming blight. Balasar seems to have been long dead and starting the decomposition process. You can see that his skin is starting to become more translucent, and the fluids just are coagulated. He's rigid. You get the sense. You might not understand what's going on from a magical perspective, but you do understand that he is dead, and he is this, whatever's controlling him or doing this is through some kind of evil, or not really evil, but like a necromantic type magics. I think you guys did get his... I don't remember if you got his name. You got the ring from him, yes. Let me grab it real quick. Okay, this guy, that's Orc Camp.
So is the guy still talking, or? Brian, is he still on the phone call?
Are you? Oh, that was a question for me. Sorry. If you recalled, when you guys were talking, I'm trying to remember if you guys, how deep you interrogated him. You kind of asked him a little bit, but I don't remember if you asked him his name.
I was the one.
Okay, this guy, this specific guy, his name's Harbin. Or, I'm sorry, not Harbin. Haman. Haman Cost. Not Harbin. Harbin Wester's the other guy. Haman Cost is... That's Hamun. Hammon. And so you write this guy, as you guys talk to him, again, you remember those kind of encounters, and he says, "It does not matter what you do. I was able to get the research which I was most intrigued by, and I'm already on my way to deliver it. But it's not what I am after. It's more serving a greater purpose. And should you... trying to think what he would say in this particular instance. And it is something that it's... it's like turning a river upon itself. You will not be able to refute the oncoming storm. My master is great and powerful, and he will grant me more power and more strength than even Venomfang, my puppet that it seems you have deposed of." Soon, you will find out firsthand. But first, and as he says this, you start to see the Balasar start to move a little bit as he comes up, and like I'm trying to think what movie that would be. He basically just kind of, his eyes dull open, not even like lifting himself up, as though he's a marionette on strings. You see him stand up onto the ground with his one arm as he pulls out his glaive. And he says, "Here's my gift, and perhaps he might make another one of you one of my puppets." And at this point, you hear this, you feel this, the presence kind of leave as he's and Balastar is going to make an attack right now. Looks like Clandon is currently closest again. Every time, man. Every freaking time. You're always in the front. Where did he go? I'm looking for his token. I didn't put it on the map because I didn't want it to be a giveaway. Where the freak did he go? I'm so confused. Wink, wink. I had to drag him back onto the map, so. Clandon. Being on edge. Being on edge. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please. Okay. You just made it. So he as he's coming up, and he does this kind of, he's not even looking at you, but he takes his glaive and swings, and you know, obviously this, you're used to this particular blow, and you're able to parry it slightly and kind of jump out of the way, but this blow, as he swings past, hits the wall, and you see the amount of force that even just one arm from this giant barbarian smashes into the wall. And you hear what normally you would recall as like kind of that rage in his eyes. You start to see the veins start popping out on his neck, and his arms just as it gives this little extra force and starts to crumble the wall next to him. And he's looking at you, this just primal hatred and just anger, just kind of lifeless, dull, raging zombie. And so everybody go ahead and roll me initiative. So let's go there. And I will do his real quick. Roland's. Everybody does. Except for Becca. Becca, go ahead and roll me initiative either way. I have idea to bring you into this. So upon kind of seeing this happen, as Balasar kind of stands up and does this whole poltergeist thing, you guys see as Roland's face just turns white as a sheet, and he faints. He just falls to the ground. Roland. This is my way of not being NPC for everybody. Okay. Did we get everybody? I know. Venfina, Vormorlum, Clandon. I do not. Yes, we have Tiger Lily. Okay, everybody's there. Descending. Okay. Aurora, at this point, you go first. Gotta zoom really, really close. I can, hold on, let me turn off people's name placards. That might be easier. Now that you guys kind of have the names down, I don't think you need them. Dora Morlum's in there, yep. So to turn them on or off, you should be able to click on your token, and there's a little cog. And there should be a checkbox above your name that says show nameplate. So if you ever wanted to toggle it on or off, that's where it's at. Okay, just kidding. Maybe it's just me. You are right behind Doromorum, yes. Balasar's all the way dead. Okay. Okay. So go ahead. All right. His AC. Man. Fighting through the haze. His AC's wrong. He should have unarmored defense. There it is. Unarmored defense. It's 10 plus your dexterity plus your constitution. What's his dexterity? 2 plus constitution 3. 13. Okay. Cool. Whatever. That's right. Okay, so you go ahead and scrolling. It does hit. Go ahead and roll for damage. 6 piercing damage. And so as you shoot this arrow, you kind of sidestep really quickly, and all in one fluid motion, you're pulling this arrow out, swinging around, and draw your bow and let loose. All just one fluid motion, and this arrow just flies. Balasar, obviously, just kind of in a spread eagle type format with his pole arm in one arm, other arm not there, up on his tippy toes with his head just kind of cracked back and looking up at the sky. Easily just hits him right in the abdomen. You don't see any reaction from him, but it does hit. Azrael, he is getting his sheet open. He used all of that. He is going to... He's going to clasp his holy symbol of Bahamut for a moment, and you kind of hear him mutter a little bit under his breath, and he's like, "Do not worry, brother. I will bring you back to the light." And he is going to come and step forward into range. He's going to kind of sidestep here. That's going to be 5, 10, 15 right in front of Gormorlum, and he is going to take a swing and bring up his kite shield in front of him, so that way he has that to go, and hits with... Where are you at? His long sword. And so he goes ahead and swings down at him. It's a 23, it does hit. 13 freaking slashing damage. What the... Holy strength. He's got 4 plus 4 on strength. 13 damage. So he comes down and he just slashes across. And you see... Sorry, he comes down... Let me take it off the push to talk. I like to talk with my hands. Okay, can you hear me still? You're gonna probably hear me snuffing and snorting too, so I apologize. So he comes down and he's swinging at him, and with his shield he puts it up and he just slices across, and you almost hear his blade sing as it comes across, and you see as it just penetrates across where the blight is infesting his chest and just everything across, and you see it pulse for a moment as it courses across, and you see what almost like a shimmer of light on this this blade of his, and he brings it back down, pulls back in a defensive stance, ready for recourse. Balasar at this point, his head looks down and just hones in right in front of him on Azrael. And at this point, he's going to take again. He's going to take in his where's it at? His glaive, and he's going to swing in a wide arc this way and around his head. And if it connects with unnatural, just unnerving speed, glaive 21 does hit. 7 slashing damage. So you see as he kind of braces for this unyielding, seemingly unyielding kite shield just gets blasted to the side, and he just takes the glaive full onto the chest. That kind of staggers him back a few steps. And you see him kind of grunt and just kind of recoil, and he's breathing heavily and trying to regather himself. And he just kind of gives you kind of a forced grin through the side of his thing. I'll be fine. Venfina, it's your turn. Dormolarm, you're on deck. From where you are, right here. Let's see. It's kind of a cluster where this is at. You could reach with your glaive. Not sure. I think you should be able to reach without having to walk through these folks. Basically, if you're using your glaive. But if you're going to walk through, you're going to have to do a strength check or dexterity check, depending on how you do it. Either push somebody or jump over them or something.
Okay.
Right in front of you, that is Dormorlam. And Clandon to the left. Okay. Go ahead and make me a dexterity check. It'd actually be more like acrobatics. So do the acrobatics check. Okay. Perfect. 11 acrobatics, 14. So as you kind of go over him, you...
Yeah, I wanted to push down on his head.
Okay. So as you're kind of running up, you kind of and you go to push, like to use his head and kind of push his helmet down over his eyes kind of thing, but he kind of hears you coming a little bit and turns, and you get the meat of his shoulder, and you push down, and dwarves being really stout individuals, you're able to kind of vault sideways over. Aurora kind of ducks out of the way a little bit, and you're able to land safely on the other side. You're now facing this Gorgon-esque dead guy. A similar spell, yes.
Oh, we had the...
Roll a history. It's not nature. Roll a history check for me. See if you remember in the heat of battle. No, you're just too. Your adrenaline's pumping, and seeing the gaunt face, this undead face of your friend it's shaking you. It's shaking you pretty hard. Your glaive, okay. Go ahead and make your attack. Oh, you know what I just realized? Okay, it does not hit. So you, as you're swinging at him, you're just, again, there's so many emotions going on right now. It's this, you're stuck between this idea of protecting your friends, and you're facing the idea of having to try and basically impale one of your friends. So it's very difficult for you to kind of come to terms with. Dormorlam, it's your turn. Find in you next. Okay. So you're able to kind of do a strength check for me real quick. That should be fine. So you run up and you try and push your way through the two of them, but the two of them are in just like really stalwart stances, so you just kind of dunk. What? And you're not quite able to make it through. You can see the battle in front of you, and it's within arm's reach, but you can't quite make it through. You're welcome to attempt to make an attack. Right? It's a pretty good one. That's the 6th. You could use your hand axes if you'd like, I think. I don't remember what other stuff you have, but yes. Okay, so you're throwing it. Go ahead and roll your attack. Let's see. These boxes I think are 10 feet. Okay, yeah, you should be in range. Yeah, you're just barely out of range. But you can throw your hand axe if you want, and that would allow that to hit. Okay. Yep. Chill touch. Okay. All right, Eldritch Knight breaking it out. 15 does hit. Go ahead and roll damage. Okay, Becca is going to step out for a second. She needs to address his dressings. Necrotic damage. And at this point, as you kind of come up, Chill Touch, doesn't it have an effect where it will root something, or is it just... I think that's a different one. Double check that real quick for me. In the meantime, as you feel it go up, normally you would expect to feel that connection of when the grasping, kind of these deathly hands grab onto something, but you see him just pass through. No effect. Okay, so then... Okay, so then you see it... Okay, so he does have disadvantage then, because he is considered undead. And he is... That necrotic damage... Let's see, so it's going to be one damage, because he's raging. A raging zombie. All right, so you go ahead and you feel that connection, and you get that sense that it connected, but he seems completely unfazed. You don't see any reaction, pretty much. You see this little like claw-like skeleton hand reaching up from the ground, tickling his feet that are dangling off the ground. Landon, it's your turn. Okay, go ahead. There's disadvantage. These freaking debuffs, man. I'm gonna run out of space. Okay. It does hit. Go ahead and roll for damage. This is one-handed or two-handed? Okay. Okay, so you kind of draw your sword, and in one kind of glancing slash, you're coming up an arc and slash at him, and you see kind of it sinks deep into his leg. And again, you're used to that reaction of when something gets hurt, a living creature anyway, that recoil. He's devoid of all of that. So he is -3 damage. Slashing. Single hand is left. So if you hover over it, it'll tell you if it's a 1d8 or 1d10. And that's usually the easiest way to tell. Okay, so you've done that. And in recoil, again, your blade sinks into him, and as you kind of pull it back and kind of cast the blood aside, you see him and looks right at you. I did not. Thank you for reminding me. The additional 6 or -3. Okay. Go ahead, and so at this point, now Rebecca, how do I say your character's name? Linuel? Lionel? Linuel. Okay, Linuel. So at this point, as this engagement is coming on, Linuel, you were kind of creeping through the woods as you were coming through this Thunder Tree area. You had heard that there were kind of weird things that happened in this area. And on a mission at this point from one of your patrons, somebody who had paid you to go and retrieve a item for them that they claim to be a family heirloom from this area, you quickly found yourself in a little bit deeper than you would like to be on most of these jobs. You find that this particular area is every which way that you turn. Either you find undead or you're finding plants that spring to life and basically try and kill you. So you've been very much on guard, and upon approaching what seems to be one of the buildings that he had described, this tower, on the top of the hill in the middle of the ruins of Thunder Tree, you see a large fight unfold. You see this giant green dragon. You see these people walking up to the building, and before you're able to give them any kind of indication that there's something wrong, you see these gouts of just acrid, deathly, poisonous smoke billow out from his maw. At which point you see many of them just simply fall. At this point, kind of giving up a little bit that you're able to do anything for these people. You pull back and retreat in some fashion. But something catches your attention as this kind of takes place, and you see the bravery. Despite having their comrades fall, these people just kept fighting, and those who had people that you knew to have been near death come back from this fight. And you're kind of awestruck at this moment, but you are listening. You're scaling the wall of this particular building, kind of seeing a little bit of this unfold and listening from a portcullis in the tower here. Can you see inside the building at this point? Okay, so seeing this unfold, you're kind of, again, slinking in the shadows. No one has noticed you yet, and you're not really sure what's going on because you didn't necessarily hear the engagement, but you are seeing this, again, undead come to life, and these people acting very different and weird towards this particular undead zombie. How do you react in this situation? How does Linuel, seeing this, how would she react? Would she kind of bide her time? Or do you think she's the type that would kind of leap in and try and save the day? Or do you think that she'd be more opportunistic, wait till everybody's dead and then take the rewards kind of thing? Okay. Okay, perfect. So what you can do in this particular case is you're going to hold your action, and do you have a trigger that would make that you take action, or do you want to take an evade action, meaning that if anyone attacked you or what have you, you would have advantage on, or they would have disadvantage on attacking you? Would you prefer to say, if this happens, I will attack, or would you prefer to just simply say, for this turn, she sits one out, and if anything attacks her, it does so at disadvantage? Okay. Okay, so she's biding her time, and I'm gonna do an evade thing on there just so I don't forget. Let's see, what could be evade? I'll do that. So at this point, you again, you kind of pull back into the portcullis in the shadow, almost like the rock and stone around you envelops you in this shroud of kind of not really like evil darkness, but just like the shadow. You're one with this particular part of the area, and nothing in this area right now has noticed you. Tiger Lily. It is her turn, and Tiger Lily, Tiger Lily would be the only one that I think, aside from maybe Venfina, if she wasn't so shaken, that may have taken notice. So go ahead and roll me a perception check with Tiger Lily. And then she can do as she will. And then... Again? When she clicks on, there should be, if you go in your character sheet, there should be a perception name, I guess you could say, in the skills section. Just click on that, and no, you're right. That is going to be a wisdom for Tiger Lily. Tiger Lily does not have that. Linuel, right? To keep correcting me if I'm saying it wrong, I'm gonna get it. She is going to go ahead and click on your stealth, the button inside of your skills section. Click on the one that says stealth. We're basically going to compare this wisdom check from Tiger Lily against what you roll for your stealth check to see if she notices you. Okay, Tiger Lily kind of smells something, and she's like, something's different here, but Tiger Lily figures it's something ahead of her, so she does not notice. Then she's basically melded herself into the stone itself. All right, Aurora, it's your turn. Oh, I'm sorry. Tiger Lily. Yes, Tiger Lily goes. Tiger Lily does get a chance. I'm sorry. She is the strongest one on the team. I mean, come on. Let's see. Let me make sure. I believe so, yes, because this grid is 10 feet, so each square, and what's his name? Roland is basically on the ground, so she could walk over him without inhibiting if she wanted to go around that right side. There is room, yes. Okay, so she runs up. Yep, go ahead and roll the attack for the pounce, and I'm going to do the strength save, which I think he has a +2 on because he's raging. Or no, it's +2 to the damage roll. Oh, that's good to know next time I swing at Kleindon. Okay, so he's going to do a strength check, and is it advantage? Plus danger sense. Okay, so it is an advantage, so he's going to roll his strength with advantage. (24), so he makes his strength saving throw, so he's not knocked prone. Let me read this just real quick. Okay, claw attack. Go ahead and roll. You do still get a claw attack, though, because that pounce is part of the claw attack, and then if they fail, you get to bite them, and they're prone. So still roll your claw. Attack, no, 6 does not hit. So he just, basically, the panther comes by, not even looking at Tiger Lily at this point. he's kind of bobs out of the way a little bit. What you probably remember as Balasar being a barbarian, he has an uncanny sense, like a spidey sense, if you will. He's able to kind of bob and weave when he senses danger nearby. Okay, now it's Aurora's turn. He is a little bit up in the air. You would not hit because your trajectory. You're not going to hit what's his name? But you have your sniper shot. Your sharpshooter. Sharpshooter counts with people. They're considered. Basically, it would be like he would be using cover, and the only time you'd hit somebody else is if you rolled a 1. If that makes any sense. So as long as you don't roll 1, yeah, you ignore cover for him as long as you can see him. At least it wasn't a 1, because you would have shot Dormorlum or something. I don't know, but yeah. So you shot at him, and at this point again, you're a little bit taken aback and kind of shaken because you're starting to remember the memories of the time that you spent with him, and kind of that pang of reality settling in. Azrael is going to look at him, and he is going to again clutch his symbol of Bahamut, and he is going to cast Compelled Duel.
Compelled Duel.
And he's going to say, I will bring you back. Fight me. Your quarry is with me. And at this point, you see again Clandon. He's looking at you at this point, and he looks back at Azrael, and he has to make a Wisdom saving throw, which is -1, DC 12. It's a 14, so he makes his Wisdom save. So you start to see this pull, the pull as he starts to look at the one guy, and his vision again settles back on you, Clandon. Persuasion? Probably not. He probably wouldn't hear you. You could try though. Plus, when he was alive, did you ever really listen to what you said anyway? So and he kind of so he just kind of shakes that off, and at this point you see in the chest of where this blight is, this green blight, you start to see it start to glow and shimmer, and you see him for the first time since you've been in the room start to, and he's going to use his dragon's breath. He's a 15-foot cone, 45 degrees. It is going to hit Dormorlum. If you're sitting truly between Venfina and the other one, Azrael, you are out of it. But if you're directly behind him, I would probably say that you're just out of it. So it's going to hit Clandon, and it's going to hit Azrael at this point. And it's going to be Red Dragon Breath. Tiger Lily, it's a 45-degree cone from in front of him. So at this point, he's looking at Clandon, so it's going to hit the Paladin and him. And 2d6. You're freaking kidding me. He rolled a 10. 10 damage, fire damage. Both of you. If you can be do a dexterity saving throw is what this one is. If you make your dexterity saving throw of 11, it's half damage, which would be 5. But if not, then you get cooked. Nice. Azrael, however, is not so lucky. At this point, again, he's a little bit dumbfounded, and he's trying desperately to bring some semblance of draconic humanity back into one of his people, essentially, and he just gets cooked and passes out. Actually, he's not dead. If you can see it, probably, yeah. If you can see it under, yeah, I know. If you can see it under the symbols, yes, it is. It is accurate. You know, Balasar can take a hit, especially when he's raging. But that's the only time he can use his breath. So, ta-da! All right, so he uses Red Dragon Breath. Now, next up on the chopping block is Venfina. Venfina, you see Balasar just encase these other two in flame, and you see Azrael fall to his knees and then slowly fall to his face next to you. Yeah, he did. He's asking if he got if Azrael did a dex save.
I'm gonna.
Yes, he's right directly next to you. As he's falling, you kind of feel a dwarf kind of run into your butt. And so you take your action, you pull out the cork, and his head's kind of tipped towards you. You gently grab his head and administer this, while keeping a close watch and eye on this looming death as he's licking the last bits of flame from his lips. And that's a 2d4, right, for your potion. Just a second. We're gonna get this one of these days. I think it's 2d4 plus 2. Nope. Manuel doesn't have one. Come on. Who has a potion in their inventory?
I didn't like dragon.
Alright, give me a second. I just want to make sure. I'm pretty sure it's 2d4 plus 2. Potion. Potion of growth. Fire breath. Mobility, flying, diminution, healing. Here it is. 2d4 plus 2. So he kind of falling to his knees. Roll 1 or 2d4 plus 2. He regains 6 hit points. And you hear him kind of sputtering. Take you back his breath. You see the scales. Some of the scales on his thing are blackened on around the edges. But you see some, at least the major bleeding, kind of heal up, and he's able to regain consciousness. Do you have any bonus actions you'd like to take? Okay, Venfina, Dormorlum, it's your turn. Clandon, you're on deck. Go ahead, and you can get there, yes. It's just going to be, your movement's going to be diminished significantly, because you're kind of bustling through two big people. Yeah, I'll allow it. No need to have you roll a natural one again. Although it'd be funny. Perfect, it hits. Okay, you swing, it connects. You swing a second time, and it connects. Okay. Okay, so that's 13. Half of 13 is 6, right? Okay, I ran up on 7. Okay. Got it. So you kind of dig in and just and again, he's other than just seeing the little bit of impact that you're pushing his body a little bit, you're not seeing him make any outward indication. What are these 1d4 rolls? Okay, perfect. Clandon, it's your turn. Liniel, you're on deck. Linuel, I will get this. Linuel. That is correct. If you step out of his melee range, which is, he's using his glaive, which is 10 feet. So even if you step back 5 feet, he could still reach you. Yeah, you can step away, and if not, then you won't get an opportunity to attack. You can use your... Yeah. Correct. Okay. Perfect. Now, that chilling touch, is it disadvantage against you, specifically, Dora Morlum? Okay. End of your turn? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Perfect. Okay, perfect. All right, so we got that. Now it's Linuel. Seeing this unfold, seeing one of their companions die and another healing potion uncorked, what do you do? Okay. Perfect. So, let's see, what's your move speed? Your Genasi. Move speed. I did not put your move speed in there. On your D&D Beyond, is it 30 feet? Okay, perfect. So you can work, these squares are 10 feet, each of these squares. So you can move 3 of them. As long as it's not through somebody. But if you do want to go through somebody, it's just like you, if you want to do a backflip over them or something, you just have to make a acrobatics check. So would you like to run up to him, or what action would you like to take? Yep, that is correct. You're still kind of melded into this very tall portcullis window. You could probably fire from there. He is a little bit higher up, and since you are on a raised platform, I believe you'd be able to see him without inhibitants, or you wouldn't be able. You wouldn't have cover. You could shoot from there. It will break your stealth though if you shoot. Okay. And 21 does hit. Go ahead and roll for damage, and to do that, you click on the name Shortbow in the chat section. Perfect. 5 piercing damage. So as you guys are fighting in this tumult of things going on, you hear the familiar kind of whistle of an arrow coming from you don't know where, but you hear as it something connects with the very chest where this blight is on Balasar. And 5 piercing damage. That's going to be 3. Okay. And you're seeing this as it connects with this. You see this ripple kind of go throughout his whole body, and he shudders a little bit as you see that pulse and the green light kind of go through his body again. And you see him get the veins that were popping out on his arm are practically exploding at this point. He pushed him angry. And I believe as a assassin or as a rogue, got a second one, or I know you can use disengage as it's either disengage or hide if you'd like to try and do that as your bonus action. Okay. Yeah, no worries, no worries. So when you're, excuse me, when you're fighting as a rogue, I believe you have the ability as a bonus action to disengage, or at this point you're not close enough. I'm just trying to make sure that if there's anything else. All right, I'm trying to pull up your character at the same time. My brain is not functioning as fast as it. At least I like to think so. Come on, open up. There we go. Okay. So third trade, wave, racial traits, feats, class features, sneak attack. You're also going to do an additional 2d6 damage with that because you're using your sneak attack. Because this foe is distracted and you're using a longbow, you are able to exact more damage. Correct. So you just do, if you type like this /roll, actually no, on the top left, you should see on that left-hand panel, there's like your toolbar. At the very bottom, or roughly the bottom, there's one that looks like a polyhedron, a 20-sided die. Click on it, and then it'll allow you to roll. Just go ahead and click on the D6, and then you're gonna do it twice, essentially. Just like that. Ignore mine. So that's 4, and then do it one more time. Perfect. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's gonna be 5 additional damage to him because of your sneak attack. Perfect. That's the nice part about rogues, is they do a ton of damage, especially when they're hidden or that kind of stuff. Cool. So you've got that. Tiger Lily, it's now your turn, and then Aurora, you're on deck. When he runs out of hit points, there is, so when you overcome something or you kill something, you have a choice. You can either knock it out or you can kill it, if that makes sense. So once its hit points hit 0, usually, with this particular group, your character might not know it, but with this particular group, they've experienced that these particular that zombies themselves, undead, are usually a little harder to kill. They have a pretty high constitution, and they'll kind of keep coming back until you're able to kill them. But usually it's when they hit 0. So Tiger Lily's right there. What's she doing? Yes. She notices at this point, seeing this, everyone in the room, this room is pretty dimly lit, and that green, that acrid green just glow just illuminated the room for half a moment. Kind of like, not really a flashbang, but just this poof of magic you can see. Okay. 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 Go ahead and roll your claw attack. Okay, so she swipes at him, but she's just kind of out of range. At this point, she's a little more indecisive, and because she hesitated a little bit, he's able to get it out of the way. Aurora? Does hit. And is that using, that's using your sharpshooter, which means an extra 10 points of damage. All right, so how do you want your previous companion, Balasar, to die? Seemingly. Okay. So taking this, normally, trying to give that, putting down an old animal, you've seen this many times in the woods where maybe a deer was partially, its legs were partially broken, or left for dead, essentially, but that mercy killing instinct wells up inside of you, and that need for your friend to be at peace. So you draw your arrow, and as you're pulling back and you loose this arrow, you kind of give off this silent prayer of, be at peace. And so the arrow flies and thunk, you see it hit just with more force than you kind of expected this arrow to have. And you see just him pull back and through the air and kind of hit the wall and kind of stumble for a second. And this is the first time that you start to see the power, I guess you could say, waning from him. Balasar. And let's see if he makes his Constitution save. So your damage was 17. His 7. Nope, he does not have a Constitution. He's not able to come back from that. So you see as the lights in his eyes kind of flicker, and you see once again this form, this crumpled body, kind of heave forward and fall flat, face on the ground. Okay, go ahead. Okay. So everyone in the room at this point is now aware of this voice and this presence in the window. And to give you more context, specifically, this person was asking you to retrieve a trinket from one of their family members, or from their family crest. Just as a context. Okay, go ahead. Okay, perfect. How many do you have in a day of those? 2? And you only used it once in this area, right? Since your last rest? Okay. Real quick with that, you are looking for within 60 feet. And you do not feel anything in the vicinity at all. The large, heavy presence that you guys were once feeling has dissipated. You're talking about Azrael. Yes, he is. He's huffing and puffing heavily, but he is definitely back on his feet. He's a soldier. Okay. No presence. The evil presence is pooping. Sounds like our house.
About her. Well, hold on. Still dealing with it.
Okay.
I just wanted.
Okay. So as you reach out, and you kind of turn him from being on his face to his back to a more peaceful position, and you get him in that position, and kind of, as you're doing so, you feel something prick you in your hand. You're not really sure what it is, and it kind of burns in this cold sensation for a second. It dissipates as quickly as it came. No seeming effect, but you just kind of look at him and again finish kind of putting him to rest. You feel something prick you. You're not sure what it was in your hand when you're touching him. Go ahead and roll roll an Arcana check for me. As for Aurora, go ahead and roll a perception check, and then go ahead and Linuel, go ahead and roll on your character sheet. There's one that's called Persuasion. Go ahead and roll me a Persuasion, please. Vinfina, you're not sure what it is. You just assume it's the scales on his skin. He is a barbarian, so he is mostly not clothed. So you're just assuming it's probably his rough scales or something. And then Aurora, you look at her and she seems very confident. So you're not getting any tells off of her. But you do find that there are some in the way that Lineal talks, there's kind of an aloofness about it that that you come to. It's not necessarily completely persuading you, but the kind of goofiness to it brings this feeling of ease. Yeah, no problem. So basically, as you're talking to Lineal, you're not seeing any like the telltale signs of somebody who would normally, if they're lying or if they're telling the truth. But based on the way that she's talking, there's this kind of an aloof feeling of like its nonchalantness, of matter of factness to it, that it doesn't completely make you trust her, but you do feel a sense of ease from this conversation. You're not getting any malcontent or malfeasance kind of coming from her countenance. Okay. Benfinas, are you doing anything else? At this point, Balasar's on his back, his arms laid to rest, his weapons. As a true warrior, he's seems at peace, mostly. As far as you're feeling, there's no strong evil. But this whole area, since you've come here, you do feel that there's that lingering sense of decay and just kind of overall that pervasive feeling of being off kilter, not quite natural. You don't feel anything that's particularly strong. Make me a wisdom saving throw for me, please. Yes, Vinfino. Okay, perfect. Okay, Vinfina, so you feel kind of like this sensation as you're kind of looking at your friend. It's similar to the feeling of kind of the skin crawling on the back of your neck as the skin tightens on the back of your head. Like almost as if a cold breath has graced down your basically behind you, and you kind of shake it off immediately. But you do hear very quietly, just again, only Venfina in the back of your mind, you hear this. A Sararak will have you yet. And then that's it. That's it from that. From what you can tell, you recognize this as there's something that was trying to. Not really it's similar to the feeling of being charmed, but you were able to resist its effect. Sure. As much as you can be in a clear after killing a dragon and your friend.
All right. Wow. Not down on this tower.
Okay. So at this point, very light-footed, you see Linuo jump down with scarcely a sound as she hits the ground. And you guys are all kind of gather yourselves. At this point, Roland is starting to come to terms. It's dark in this room. It's very difficult to see. You see overall a humanoid figure, but as you guys are come upstairs and get a better view of what's going on, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you know what the water genasi look like? Perfect. Okay, so as you come up the stairs, you start to see this blue that at first you thought it was just kind of like, okay, maybe it's dark, maybe I don't know. But as you're coming into the light of that caved-in top floor where the dragon had made his nest, you see much more clearly that her garb as well as her hair, her skin, all that.
Also,
Winter? Oh, okay. Okay. So as you guys as this kind of comes to a close, there's a stillness and a little bit of a vibration as the rest of you go upstairs. Venfina, you're left with Balasar's body still on the cold pavement. Dormorland, where are you at in this? Okay. So you kind of see this, and you're here to kind of witness and attest. You see as Venfina's normally very kind of sunny and bright demeanor starts to shiver and change as her skin starts to go more blue, and her hair goes a much more silvery white. Her armor taking on less of a warm golden kind of sheen to this otherwise steel and shimmering armor, starts to go a much more bluer shade, as you kind of witness her go into this state of loss, I guess you could say, of winter, Eladrin elves themselves. So pretty much.
I'm not gonna bust in.
Ooh. Oh, yo, 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 yo. Oh, ho, 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 ho. No.
That was a choice.
This one is a cognitive choice.
No, but right.
Normally this would happen at the beginning of the day, but for thematic reasons, I'm allowing it.
Actually,
Aurora would know of this as well, and Becca can fill you in a little bit more because she's the one that's been reading it. But Eladrin elves are elves that are.
it's a new feature.
It's a new feature in the newest book, Mordekainen's Tome. Is it Tome of Foes? Mordekainen Tome of Foes? Yeah, that one right there. Basically, it has Eladrin elves. Typically, they are very influenced by the seasons, and they're very connected to that kind of thing. So they can choose to have a either an autumn demeanor, fall. I guess that's the same thing. Winter, spring, summer. Each one of them changes the way that your what is it called? Your face step. It changes the way your face step does, and I think your resistance as well. Is that right? Or is it just the face step?
Well, it's your face.
Yep. So, and Aurora, you'd be familiar with this right now. You're going upstairs. Is that correct? With everyone else? Yeah.
Well,
No, there wasn't anything down there. There was just rags and trash boxes. No, that was just Venfina. You have dreams. She's got voices in her head. Okay.
so Preston, even
Yes.
though when I cast Divine Sense, I didn't feel rolling.
There was no strong sense, but yes, there is still.
Previously, when
You noticed a small, like a speck or a almost like a smudge on a mirror, if you will. Like it wasn't like burning evil depths of the abyss. It was more of just like you could sense that there was something that remiss. It wasn't necessarily in its whole evil. Does that make sense? It wasn't a super strong sense. It was just a faint glimmer. And in I believe it was Clandon, Dormorlum, and Roland that you'd notice this. Roland least of all.
Is Roland?
Yeah, he's sitting in the corner still catching his breath after all the blood he lost earlier, and then seeing some dude come back to life all poltergeist style. He was having a hard day. So he's catching his breath, sitting against the wall. Okay, so I'm gonna put everybody who's upstairs on the stairs. The rest of you are downstairs. The Dragonborn is also going to kind of stay and pay his last respects because he has no interest with what's going on upstairs. He's just kind of doing this. And after a few moments, he looks over to Dormorlum and he says, "That sigil there. Mind you take good care of it. I believe he would want you to have it more than I. I will find another way to report my findings." And so he goes ahead and he grabs this glaive from Balastar's body, and says, "This should suffice to prove that he is dead. You do him great honor." And at this point, he's gonna start making his way towards the stairs and kind of going down to go outside. And you see what seems to be, having a soldier's kind of hardened face. You see a smirk flash across, and he says, "Well, and mind you not be dangling your bits at the women folk any farther." And then he walks down the stairs. But it was more of a playful kind of wink in his eye. And then he departs. So you guys go upstairs. As you guys are going upstairs, as you recall, let me pull it up here. One moment. Yes, there was. So here we are. We are at the Ruins of Thundertree. Here we are. Really good show. We're going to go to number 7. 777. Alright, Dragon's Tower. So, at the top of the tower, you see an old wooden chest broken open on the floor, and it holds what seems to be the last of Venom Fang's treasure. There's 800 silver pieces. I'm going to write this in the chat so everybody has it. 800 silver pieces, 150 gold pieces. Yes, please. Four silver goblets with set moonstones. And you can get those appraised later if you want. You see a what you recognize to be a spell scroll in this old leather tube that you've been familiar. You've seen one of these before. You're not sure what it is, but you see the scroll, and then you see a second one in the same little satchel. 2 little tubes that are wrapped together with a sinew cord. You can tell that this is a place where Venom Fang, this is like his little mini horde, his start of his horde. He hasn't been here very long, because you're used to hearing, Clandon especially, knowing dragons, they are very greedy creatures, and green dragons are among the most cunning, and they're not one to use their brawn, but they use their power to infect the minds and the lives of people around it and twist them against each other. So you... Yep. And beneath all of these coins, as you're kind of shifting around and moving things, you see what seems to be a rusty old battle axe of what the manufacturer of it you recognize as being dwarven. some way. It does have Dwarvish written on it. You're not really... the people in the room, what languages do you understand? You do, but he's not in the room. So this would be Aurora. I don't think the Panther does. Okay, so you don't... Go ahead. Yes, you didn't know before you came, but seeing that there was a giant hole in the ceiling and having witnessed the power of this dragon kind of coming out of here, you kind of guessed this is where it was hiding all its treasures. As you're going through it, let's see. Got that. I'm just making sure nothing right now. If no one in the room knows Dwarven, but that you do see that axe, and you can get that identified later if you'd like. And before we go too crazy, you guys got your experience last time, right? Perfect. Okay, so this time as well, everybody is going to get an additional 150 XP each. And I'll go ahead and put that on Roland's as well. We don't forget. That's going to be 2, 6, 7, 8 plus 250. Yep. That's totally fine. For Shill, she should be pretty close to everyone else, so just go ahead and whatever your XP is, just write it down as hers. It should be... You guys will be in the same kind of ballpark. Okay, so with that, again, you're looking through it. You continue your rummaging through these different things, and you do, as Clandon, go ahead and roll me a perception check if you're specifically looking for the map piece. 12. So you're going through here. You're going through. You're not finding a whole lot as far as the map piece itself. Go ahead and roll another one, Benfina. Perception, yes. Okay, so Aurora and Benfina, you see Clandon over there. He's kind of rummaging through. At this point, Benfina comes up the stairs, and the angle that everyone's looking at things is a little bit different. But Benfina, you first take notice of the scrolls and that they're bound together, and there's a little piece of paper poking out one of them. And Aurora, you also notice this. So, but he's basically kind of taken the scrolls, and I don't, Clandon, would you like put them under your arm? Would you toss them behind you? What would you have done with those? Yeah. It's you and Aurora. Okay, so she snatches it out of your hand, and she kind of pulls them apart, pulls this out, and you find a small piece of just weather-torn vellum that is very familiar to you. It is the same material as the map that you have gotten the other two pieces with Gundren Rockseeker. So, Clandon, roll me... so, Aurora, roll me a sleight of hand. Aurora, roll me a sleight of hand. Clandon, you roll me a perception check, and we'll see if Clandon notices it. I mean, I assume he would. You snatched it, but see if he notices grabbing. So you see her just like, she pulls it out slightly, and she's kind of like... trying to be sly, but... Perfect. And as you're kind of going through this again, you're moving things around, and you're starting to move through this horde essentially, and you see in one of these there's this little tiny signet that looks kind of like a bolo tie with kind of this golden emblazoned thing with a crane on it. And this as you're going to go through it, Lineal, you recognize this as the crest that he had described to you. Your patron. Snatch! Klepto. The three of you are kind of sifting through the money pockets. Also, Lineal, if you wanted, I would also allow, since you're a rogue, if you wanted, you could roll a sleight of hand and see if you wanted to pocket anything else without anyone noticing. So you can decide. You can decide if if she would be the type to take a little bit, shave a little bit off the top for, just because it's there, or if she's not an opportunist. That's up to you. Okay, so you take 10 gold pieces, and Clandon, you see as she kind of rolls them across her. Look up there. There's gold pieces too. 150. So she takes 10 gold pieces, and you see her rolling them from like thumb to finger, and she flicks it up and puts it in her pocket. Nope. Nope. It's just kind of like, hey, I'm taking this, by the way. Dink. So you guys go through that. You get those. At this point, Dora Morlum, are you still hanging around downstairs, or did you go upstairs with Vinfina? Okay. So you see, as you're coming up the stairs, everybody's moving stuff around. You do notice the battle axe, and from where you're standing, you read on the axe head it says Hew, Hew, in Dwarvish.
Y'all can take.
You can have your what's it called? And Roland's also here, but he says, the pleasures of man are not mine. Go ahead, no problem. Right. Plus, you do have a little bit of coin on you for the prepayment that your benefactor had given you. And that is in your D&D Beyond. I don't have it in front of me.
I am interested in what that spell's from.
Aurora hands them to her. Aurora snatched them out of your hand. She grabbed the scrolls, she pulled the paper out, and tried to hide the paper, but she still has the scrolls in her hand.
So, okay. Sorry, I was out of the room when that happened. That's something that I saw.
You see her. It's in her hand still. She's still holding it. You saw in you see the scrolls, but not the map piece.
Well, I saw it before because I had it.
Yes, you did see it. So you saw what unfolded with the stuff that Aurora did sleight of hand. It was pretty blatantly obvious that she was pocketing something, which you knew this piece of paper.
Anyhow, I was. Aurora, do you mind if I? And I find or
A moonstone. Go ahead and roll a roll me a not history nature check. Well, you know it looks pretty. Yeah, you can during this whole everything that's going on, you can go ahead and ask. Now, as from what you guys can see from these moonstones, you know that moonstones in and of themselves are the silver in the goblets is pretty valuable, but with these moonstones it makes them a little more valuable. You're not really sure how much more valuable, but moonstones are kind of it's a very pearlescent, like kind of like a mother of pearl sort of, but it the way the light it catches and refracts inside, it reminds you like if someone took a cloud and kind of captured it inside of a crystal. You get these kind of swirling blues and whites. It's really kind of pretty. It's a semi-precious stone.
Sophia, the dog.
So as far as you're there, typically these particular ones are more white and blue, but you do know that these kind of come in other colors as well. But it's a very pearl-like texture. Goblets for sale. Venfina had to get the baby. Perfect. Do it. It's all yours. Okay, so go ahead and mark in your inventories that you got those. Now, if you wanted to, if you wanted to inquire, ask questions to different people, you're able to do that at any point in time. So, and Linuel, I'm gonna in Discord. I'm gonna send you a message, and I'll to give you more description about him, and you can decide if you want to divulge anything. Okay, so go ahead and roll me a history check. See if you remember in your dwarven history. You can do so with advantage because because this is more of a relic, dwarven relic. Okay, so 15. So you don't remember a whole lot, but you vaguely remember hearing about a dwarf. And this story, it's kind of like a folk tale that drunk men would kind of tell kids about, basically just like one of those throwaway stories, like, hey, tell me a story. I don't know any stories. Here's a story. And on this axe itself, the rest is pretty misleading. You see that this particular, the history as you remember it, or the story as it went, was there was a dwarf, and he was a pretty good smith. He wasn't like a godlike thing or anything, but he made some pretty good stuff, and he was feuding with some dryads in the forest. And basically when it came down to it is they were just back and forth, both of them in each other's business. And being a dwarf and being stubborn, he got to the point where he was tired of the dryad stuff, and so he decided to cut down all their homes. And so he made this axe that would allow him to cut firewood, basically chop down the trees more efficiently. And you just remember that in the story he was just always kind of a weird dude. And he preferred being around stones and rocks, and whenever he was in the forest, he was very apt in the story to just kind of go off the handle and start chopping trees down. This axe is called Hugh, and this is a +1 battle axe. There was never really a name. It was more like an allegory that people would tell. Okay. So if you do take that in your possession, go ahead and add. If you go into D&D Beyond, look for Hew, Hew. Should come up for you. And it's a +1 battle axe. You have a +1 attack to damage rolls with the magic weapon, and its maximum damage is done when it's a plant creature or an object that's made of wood. So, and if you have proficiency, you can add proficiency to the attack with modified also. And you also feel, whenever you're using it, it does not require attunement, but whenever you use it, you feel uneasy in the woods. For whatever random reason, whenever you walk through a forest. Pretty much, he's inside the building in the stone, so he's okay, but when you get outside, he might start getting a little twitchy. Okay, so Venfina, you open up one of them, and you recognize this one. It is written in Elvish, and this particular scroll is a scroll of Misty Step. This is a spell that both you and Aurora are very familiar with. You recognize that this was similar to some of the manuscripts and things that you were taught as a younger Eladrin elf, how to use this innate power. So this particular spell scroll is a one-time use, and it would allow somebody to cast Misty Step as a bonus action. The other one, you're not quite sure. You can roll me an Arcana check. This one is not it's not in Elvish. It seems to be in more of a perfect Arcana check. So this particular one, you're looking at it, and you're gleaning little bits and pieces, and finding that as you kind of piece it together, it takes you a better part of probably 5 or 10 minutes to just kind of wrap your head around what it exactly is trying to do. And then you realize that it's connected to the energy of lightning. And this particular scroll is a scroll of lightning bolt.
It's also...
Yep. Like Thor. So this particular one, I'll just give you the specifics because you're going to get the spell scroll anyway. If you go into D&D Beyond and or just grab the spell scroll, throw it in there. It's 100-foot range. You can only cast it once. As soon as it's cast, the scroll incinerates. It's gone. So you can only use it once, just like every other scroll. Spell scroll of lightning bolt. You don't take lightning damage, but the other person does. For the paper burns, yeah. So it's 100-foot long and 5 feet wide. It blasts out in one direction, and anything in that line has to make a dexterity saving throw, or it takes 8d6 lightning damage. If they fail their save, they'll take the full damage. If they make their save, it'll be half as much. The lightning ignites anything that's flammable that is not being worn or carried by somebody. 8d6. So, yep.
Maybe give it to one. What do you think? Lightning. Pick me up. Curious, Dan. Know if it'll our friends or if we get. I don't know. In case we come across another dragon or emergency.
The question was about her benefactor. Was that right? Or and you can decide to you say whatever you want. You can and then based on that, we'll have you roll one way or the other to decide if either it persuades or deceives or whatever. Okay, so the chain, the way it goes around and kind of it fixes to the back of the sigil, it's very similar to, like I said, a bolo tie. You know what I'm talking about, where it goes down and then you got the two little things dangling out the bottom. And the particular thing on here, it has like a heron standing on it. Nothing particular jumps out at you. It's not super well made, but it's nice. It seems to be it seems to be something that, at least with the area and it's like kind of the architecture, things like that, it seems like it would be fitting, but you don't see anything out of place. Roll a history check. Mm-mm. It doesn't ring a bell. It's a cool. Birds are pretty. That's totally fine. Okay. Okay, go ahead and roll a history check. Benfina, looking at it, you've seen this somewhere before. Aurora, again, you same thing. You've seen this before, and you know you seem familiar with this heron. You're not really putting one and one together, but there is a familiarity to it. Mm-hmm.
Both eyes. Aurora recognized.
Why is your skin a different color?
Except I kind of look like her. Yeah, we get back to stuff.
There's a party going on. Linuel, I just sent you an image. Tell me if this is close to what you're thinking. Okay. So this, I'm gonna give it just a quick image. I don't know if I can do this. Download. I don't. No, that's not gonna work. Get the actual link. Beep, beep, beep. There it is. All right. Let's get copy link address. So I put the image up so everyone else can see it. I'm gonna put it in chat. Let's give credit where it's due. This one is on DeviantArt by Yama Okre, O-C-R-E. DeviantArt. Again, that's Yama, Y-A-M-A-O-C-R-E. To give an example of not necessarily what she looks like, but as a Genasi, this is kind of very close to what how you're seeing her. You see your hair flowing in the wind. Clandon, you asked a question about them being well known. This is not, they're not someone in this particular part in the Neverwinter area. You're never surprised by the new faces that you meet, especially having come from Neverwinter. Because that's a very large city and there's lots of people. There's ports where people come in and out. And you've seen some Genasi, but this far away from larger populations, you're not used to seeing them in the country like this. I mean, as far as like but you are very close to Neverwinter. Why is your skin not blue? Pity the fool. Mudblood. The CGE.
I come from. Sadly.
And you hear an echo from down the stairs saying, "I've already died!"
He brought you back.
That was
Roland.
Roland. And you look down the stairs, and you see a paladin dressed in this just very intricate garb, similar to kind of like steampunk in nature. Not your typical fantasy stuff. He's got a bunch of cogs on the wheel and a tuning fork type sword where it's split down the middle. And the cogs seem to have some kind of a holy energy to them as they kind of move along and tick. And he says, "I don't recommend it." He seems to be human. Oops. What was that? Sorry. Unless it shows the bio. I was trying to show you the bio with his face. Did that pop up anything on anyone's screen? I'm not.
We are.
You guys are.
Top knot?
Awesome nuts. They're awesome, but they're not. Yeah, there you go. Dragon's Bane. Because you do have a large dragon head downstairs decomposing. Sharing time. I'm not the only one!
When you were out and about, Lynn. When you were out and about, did you large dire wolf? I don't think they live in this.
Correct. Then you roll me a perception check. We'll see if you were perceptive while you were coming up. You recall seeing Yes, you saw a lot of undead. There were a couple other different things, gricks, sturges, um, moving bushes with people in them, Fortnite style. You saw a couple of different larger animal forms that were furry, but you couldn't really put your finger on what they were. You just knew that they were big and they're bigger than you, and just to not mess with it.
You're coming.
Correct. She would have been coming from kind of the northwest.
Okay.
You guys were originally in Neverwinter, and you would recognize that these ash zombies, there's stories. People bring stories, but you've never actually encountered them until now. That are basically the souls of the dead that have been twisted when Mount Hotanau exploded and kind of ravaged this area. Right now, let's see. You guys got up. You moved. You had the fight. We're probably pushing about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Let's see. Your client contracted you out of Neverwinter. Um, and as you left, and when you were inquiring on where you would make the delivery to, because you're typically, would have a drop off point. You're used to doing kind of the inner city, working things over. He said that not to worry about it, that you won't find him, he'll find you. In Neverwinter. He didn't necessarily in Neverwinter. He just said that keep it with you, and that it won't necessarily. Yeah, that he would has his means of finding people. Mm-hmm. Because he knew he was going to be leaving town, on to go on not really an expedition, but basically to go and gather some supplies from different areas. Uh, at this point, so the way that you're at right now, so I'll pull everybody to the world map real quick. Ching! I need to put you on this map so you can see. Ba-doop. Okay, you should be able to see now.
All you want to do is get to know her better. How old is Aurora?
I don't know. How old is she?
No, I'm just curious because my character Please. No, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm old, but we got
Elves live for a very long time.
And Clandon that's young, so
Yeah, you know, elves live for a very long time, so the maturation rate for elves is very quick, and then they're pretty much the same for the rest of till they die. Oh, you can't
can't see anything.
you guys can't see anything?
Oh. Oh, you gotta zoom out a bit. Yeah, it finally.
Sorry. Yeah, elves live up to be 750 years old.
I am 300. Well, I'm still old. Yeah, but how old?
You are. Do you see where Thunder Tree is? So if you zoom out, it's right in the middle. Yep. Neverwinter is where you came from, over here. Right now, you guys are right here at Thunder Tree. To the north is where you kind of came from because you followed the river to get here. And down here to the south is Phandalin, where they're talking about. You might not know exactly where it is, but you know generally it's south from where you're at.
Going back to that map for?
You guys want that map still? I can go back. Okay.
Done with that.
Done with that map. Downstairs, okay. You collect all that different stuff, and I expect that everything that you guys get, I told you got for like the skin and everything else. Make sure that you have that in your inventory because I don't remember.
Plan, do you need any help?
Its eyes are hazed over, its tongue's lolling out as he's carrying it. It's like. First make a strength check for me.
Or your dragon.
Dragon heads are pretty big.
I'm pretty sure you're encumbered. Should be in your bio.
Okay. So Clandon picks it up and you slip on the dragon's blood that's kind of gouts out a little bit, and you kind of stumble for a second, but it's just an awkward shape. It's an awkward shape, and so it's just kind of weird. Yep. Maturation, though, they mature like humans. So as far as like maturation goes, you're a adult in human as well as elves, and then you just stop growing old at that point. So the only thing you wouldn't have on other elves is the tenure or like the eons of time that's going on. In the elven culture, yes. Physically, though, I want to say it's like because like for elves, everything their perception of time is like humans stretched out, like super long. So as far as like elven culture, you're absolutely correct. If Aurora was to go into a higher court and try and throw clout around, they would view her as adolescent. Yes, exactly. But you're absolutely correct. Roll a survival check for me. And are you guys heading south? Where are you going?
Roll a strength as well for his...
No, together you should be fine. It's just because it's an awkward shape was why I was asking him to do it. Survival's okay, so Aurora. So you guys go down. Then you probably would have to the north, yeah. Yep. Well, let's see. You said you came from Squalid. Let me ask you this: from your rogue area, usually you're used to doing business in town. He paid you up front. You probably used some of that to get. Yeah, I would say you probably have a horse, so you could probably gather your horse from its tether to the north without problem. He paid you part of it up front. Yes. Yeah, he gave you half up front, and then the half was supposed to come later. So, and he paid you pretty generously if you look at your D&D Beyond sheet. And if you want, like I said, you can name your horse, you can say what it looks like. I don't care. So as far as that part, you guys can run with it. Okay, so going through the survival checks, Aurora. Now, walk me through where you guys are moving from and to, like where are you going? Because you're
going south on the path.
On the path.
I go only on the path.
Only on the path. Okay. So walking on the path, you're walking on the path.
No, you did not. Because I was helping you, Clint, and you are going on the path.
Okay. So she's walking on the path, and you guide her to lead her off the path, remembering that there was a large mass of spider webs that you believe that probably be the denizens of spiders above the corpses you saw by the tower, but you're not really sure, and you don't really want to test the waters, so you avoid it and go through the thickets again. So you guys are able to go down there by Rydolph's house. There's an entire half of a town.
Didn't we check this one down to the south where the...
I'll dry you. I'm gonna put a square around everything you have. Give me a second. Check mark. Okay, check mark it is. Check. That's a goofy check.
No. Hard to see the text out on this.
Oh, that's true. Okay, well, if you see a building when you walk up to it, it's checked. Check. Okay.
And are you going to bed in the...
A sickening...
I'll come along with you.
A fleshy, sickening thump as it drops to the ground and kind of collapses itself and...
Now, we really... No, Glenda, don't do it.
All right.
There's always tomorrow.
Okay. So you guys...
Right?
I need to work on my poker face. Okay, so you guys walk up to Rydolph's house. You see, again, the windows are shuttered, but there's very small slivers. It is waning into probably 7 in the evening-ish, because you guys, again, you're lugging a lot of stuff. A head and just heavy stuff. So as you approach, dusk is well upon you, and you see the faint flicker of what seems to be the candlelight or in there as you approach the door. So again, everything's shuttered, the door is closed. but you do see candlelight inside. And you kind of hear kind of like the sound of a chair or a heavy stool kind of tipping over and something just falling to the ground. So you try the door, it's locked, but you quickly hear someone from behind. Opens door. You damn near scared me to death. What are you doing, boy? Well, I wasn't expecting you to come back alive. But come in, come in. And leave that outside. And his eyes kind of get big, and he's kind of just looking at it. His eyes are mostly kind of glued on it and looking at you guys and looking back to it. And he's like, "Oh, you seem to have come out all right. I'm glad to see it."
Came out ahead.
Well, you did after all fight a dragon. It's to be expected. And he pulls. He says, "Well, this is a time." You die. Unconscious. So, real quick to clear that up, when you hit 0 hit points, unless you take enough damage that it puts you into the negative greater than your total health, you're unconscious. And you're bleeding out, essentially. And if you do what's called saving throws, if you miss, or if you fail 3, you die permanently. If you make 3, you stabilize. If somebody comes to give you a potion, you stabilize, etc. Every time you come conscious again, which is 1 hit point or above, it wipes the slate clean and you start over.
Fast enough after that.
Right. Some spells, yes, can bring you back from the dead, but most of them are expensive, and they are usually there's the cost involved, but there's also a timetable involved. If you're not quick enough, sometimes that connection between the body and the soul can be severed permanently. Yes, you turned into for a day. So he says, "Well, this is a good time to rejoice. I did honestly did not expect you to come back so quickly. Well, tell me of your adventures." And as he kind of goes about this, he reaches into a pouch behind him, and he produces in his hand a bunch of berries. These kind of like black. They look kind of like blackberries, but their colors are just very vibrant and happy and whatever. And he kind of hands them out puts his hand out to anyone who like this. Take these; they'll help you feel better. Okay. So you feel you regain 1 hit point.
I'd like to do a medicine check on me.
Okay, so as you go ahead and do a medicine check. In the meantime, Landon, as you're looking at this, you eat it. You feel that it brings you nourishment. You were hungry before. You were kind of tired, but all of the fatigue from being hungry or thirsty is washed away, and you regain 1 hit point. It says, "These are good berries."
That's the name of
No, they're delicious. Yes, they're called good berries.
What are they? No. Well, someone who is interested in trying to help, I need to know. Help everyone. They're for real.
Yes, they're called good berries. These are. He explains a little bit to you that this is just something, one of his talents as a druid, that he's able to help produce.
Just make them. Yeah.
He's able to produce these in times of need. Everyone who partook of one of these good berries, go ahead and take 1 hit point. And you don't have to eat for tonight.
So, and the good berries.
Yes, that is correct. Good berry is a spell. Yep. So you guys have that. He asks you to recount a bit more of your encounter with this dragon, and as he just sits again, just completely just awestruck and just as much as kind of a hard-faced kind of hermit-like dude he is, he's also kind of mooning over this victory. It's up to you. It's up to you. However you want to do it. Stay a while and listen. Okay. It is glad to meet your acquaintance. I'm glad you all came out okay. That's quite the tale. It will do well at the inns, I am sure. It has done an old man like me a good to have this blight removed from this land. Well, I have agreed to assist you in finding the way back Echo Cave. I suppose that will be my next endeavor. Excellent, excellent. Well, if you need again my abode, I cannot thank you enough. You've done a great service to this land, and I cannot repay you. So I'm glad, and again, my hearth is your own. Feel free to rest up as much as you need. Is that a question or to the group? Just making sure. Tim, it would. Well, I don't. Yes, that should be fine. And you get the kind of a sense that he's fumbling a little bit. Again, he's not someone who typically hangs out with people. He's kind of a recluse, not in a creepy way, but he's just not. You remember Zedek. Zedek was very similar to this. He's very reclusive. He's just kind of, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. I'm very content, and he's a wallflower essentially. So, but yeah, he concedes. You guys you're welcome to spend the night, and we can roll for.
Yeah, I'll take the first.
He says, "No need for that. I can manage this night alone. You get your rest." Well, I'd seen signs, and I'd smelled something very peculiar on the wind. It didn't seem like a dire wolf, but I mean, it could have been. Again, as we spoke before, he had come through just before the storm had blown through this area, but since then, all tracks and everything else have been kind of washed away and very difficult to track. But I have not seen him since we last spoke. No. No problem, and stay vigilant. I'm sure you'll find your friend. We can only hope. Hey. Sleeping? Let's see, did I get Roland? Roland's over there. Yeah, so everybody, you're able to sleep through the night. It's relatively uneventful. Those who wished to stay up a little bit longer and kind of chit-chat and talk, Rydolph, again, he just kind of would go from quietly from window to window. Occasionally, you would see him into a small gray squirrel and then kind of jump out the window and kind of go looking around, and then you'd come back. Most of you drift off to sleep. Aurora and Venfina, you only had to sleep for 4 hours of meditation. I think it's
called trance.
Your trance, yep. So you guys were able to get your rest quicker than others and regain consciousness quicker while the others are sleeping.
Well,
Genasi? That's a great question. I don't know.
anyway,
Yeah, unless, you know, if you've picked that up, I have not read about Genasi, so. Yep. I have the same problem. So the abilities are mostly genie, and then the gotcha. Well, it's just like Clandon. Clandon's half human, half elf, so.
I have the trance.
Mm-mm. Is that right, Clandon? But the sleep, the trance isn't part of it? Okay. So, you got the berries, you got the water.
I have berries.
So as everybody drives to sleep again, Clandon, Dormorlum, and Roland, all three of you guys, again, you have this sleep and this kind of this pulsing and ringing in your ears as you're kind of going through the stream. It's very hazy and distracting, and you still get your full rest without a problem. But as you're kind of seeing these flashes and these different visions and things, you don't remember what they are as you kind of come to consciousness. But every time you get that pervasive feeling of someone watching you, and it always ends in that masked figure's face, kind of just watching silently and coldly. You did? Mm-hmm. Well, I can't remember what your... I don't recall. I want to think you did. You got skittish, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, sounds very familiar. But again, this masked figure, um, again, they don't get any closer or any further away. It's like this when you're in this kind of waking dream as you're walking through the streets of Phandalin, and you turn a corner and you see your friends. For a split second, you're seeing a figure behind them, and then disappearing. And again, every time you wake up, think of like Slender Man, right? You get that whole idea that every so often he's just like boom right there, and that's usually the point in which you wake up. These, no one else should see it. Tell me, I hopefully Clandon sees it, and then Dormorlum hopefully also sees it. This is the type of figure that you're seeing. I hadn't thought of that.
You put a tracker on.
Not to your knowledge. I mean, but for the you having had experience with people in the town of Neverwinter and different types of people that you've dealt with, warlocks, you've dealt with wizards, you've dealt with regular folk, you've dealt with nobles, different types of people, whether it be pickpocketing against them or doing some dirty deed for them, kind of thing. Roll me a history check real quick, and we'll see if you have any thought or of if this sounds familiar to you at all. In the underdark of kind of okay, so then you'll upon this kind of as he's explaining this, you do have this, you do this definitely rings a bell. This as far as this you. When talking to different people in town, there's always, in every organization, every large community, country, there's always a underground society that operates. And every good city, every good government always has some kind of underbelly that in a lot of ways keeps things moving in a subtle manner that works in the benefit of the city, as well as people shaving a little bit off the top, for lack of a better term. And this particular symbol you recognize as there's different types and different ways and different things that it could go. You don't know for sure, but you do recall that there are a lot of like cultist type organizations that operate with these types of subterfuge, or this type of what's the word? The description of the way that they are moving, the way that they are not really moving, but the way that they're dressed, their garb would indicate that they are some kind of cultist. And doesn't sound like they're a cultist in the better half of the word, but more of the more sinister, I guess. Um, roll me a perception check. In Clandon, basically what this is going to do is to see if how well you perceive his stuff. Natural 20. You, Clandon, is an open book, and you're reading him like up and down, and you're like, there is not a lying bone in this man's body. You feel strongly that he is very sincere in what he's saying. He does not seem to be. He seems to be genuinely put off at ill ease because of this, whatever they're mixed up in. He's experiencing. Dor Morlem, can you roll me a history check, please? Go ahead with what you're saying, Clandon, and then I'll write it in the chat just in case. Dor Morlem. Okay. So you guys, again, after waking up, Rydolph, again, as a thank you, provides each of you with another good berry for your travels. As you come outside, you find that he has rounded up your horses and brought them back safe from harm. One of them's missing a leg. No, just kidding. They're all good. He found them, brought them back, and he says, "I believe these smelled of you. So these yours?" Well, it's my indeed. There's worse things, but I suppose mosquitoes. He basically offered that if you needed assistance to find the Wave Echo Cave, that he'd be willing to assist in that endeavor. But you also have the other piece of the map, so it's up to you. If you think that the map is accurate, or if you feel like you need him, it's either way.
He's not very
Well, if... Oh, thank you. I've already done so. You can see the new scrawlings on your way out. I think you'll be to your liking. I spent some good time on them. I suppose the ones you've already eaten, these will spoil by a day's end. Fair enough. Sure. And so he reaches into his pouch and brings out another kind of fistful. Gives them to you. No problem. And if I hope that again, I appreciate what you've done for this area, and if I suppose sounds like you have what you need, and at this point, I will continue to bring this area back to its ridding it of all the blight that is sickening this place. It would be my pleasure. And with this, he kind of gives you a low bow. I think you did when you first got there. I feel like you ask everybody you meet. Which is okay. Yep. So at this point, you guys you get on your horses, and you hear a large kind of sound behind you, and you see Rydolph has transformed himself into a large owl bear, and he kind of winks at Venfina and Aurora as he kind of trots off towards the northernmost parts. And that's where we'll end it for tonight. That was me. Yeah, good tie-in. So the ruins of Thunder Tree will no longer be ridden with zombies. He's on the case. So you guys again, where we'll close up. You guys are traveling back home. Not many incidents, assuming you guys are just taking the same way you came, with the exception of not going in the forest. It takes you the better part of a day and a half. You got the horses. You're riding relatively hard, but again, you also have this awkwardly shaped package that you're carrying with you. But you guys are able to get there without incident. It's tumbling in the. So. It broke its leg and you had to kill the horse because it tripped over the dragon's head. But you guys do get back, and that's where we'll end it for tonight. But you basically kind of seeing the town of Phandalin on the horizon, and this is probably midday at this point. So we'll pick that one up next time. When do we want to meet next? I remember someone say something about the 15th. I'm opening up the group me real quick. That's what I think we'll probably have to do. So, okay. Okay. Is she on 9? Can you be? So if it works, it's up to you. If you enjoyed it, we're more than happy to either. I know we do have to ask with Corey. Corey does have a D&D game that oscillates on Saturdays, so I'm not sure. On the 16th? Okay. So the if it's the 15th, then it's a okay. 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 So I will put that in here, 15th or the 29th. And I'll send that out, so everyone should have got that. I think other people can add people to the group. So if Clandon or Aurora, if you want to go ahead and add Rebecca on there, if she's interested in having those text conversations, just to know when that sort of stuff's happening. But hopefully, again, it gives you a good feel for what D&D is, what kind of fun is. I apologize, guys, again for my snotty nose and gross throat. Seriously, popping antihistamines like nobody's business. We've got cottonwood trees that's just like so. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Closed. Okay, so yeah, thanks everybody. I'm gonna close the stream off real quick, and then if I can answer any questions after. But thanks for coming, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.